Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone today? I hope everyone is well. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. We're going to try to be an upbeat channel today just for Ratman. Just for Ratman Roden, which is the only person in here. I hope all is well with everybody. It's Friday. I've had pretty good luck with rates and volumes this week. A little bit better. Um but not, nothing that's going to take somebody out of bankruptcy or anything like that. But there's been an uptick in volume a little bit. So, anyways, what's up, everybody? What's up? Good morning. We might put a link out today. We'll see. A lot of things going on here at home. I've been kind of entrenching myself with some safety stuff. I had a meeting with Sam Sarah this past week that went very well. Kind of utilized the tools that we have here at Like Trucking. And then I've been kind of emailing back and forth with CDN about some stuff. And what else is going on? I've been kind of approaching the YouTube thing a little bit. Um, Doing some stuff with the truck. So I mean, there's a few things going on. I'm gonna be. The wife and I are going on a little mini vacation here in a couple weeks, and then I might have to take a trailer all the way to Michigan, because go in October while we can, right? Oh, let's see. Let's get rid of this thing. There's my ugly, beautiful face. What's up, everybody? Hope you got your coffee. I hope you're not drinking one of them poisonous energy drinks. And yeah, so I mean, it's we had a it's funny. I did that video on pen to paper on, what was it, Tuesday, and we just literally had the same conversation with our son. He's learning how to budget, and so my wife and I sat down with him, and we helped him go over a budget for what he makes. And and we talked about passive income, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, book. And I ordered another book too. Ryan Mickler has a new book. I did that. So it's been a pretty busy morning for Friday. But anyways, I'm looking forward to the weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful weather here in the Ozarks. um so Dave, if you're watching, enjoy it. And yeah, so anyways, let's do some shout outs. Um and yeah, and then we'll get on the low board crap, and then maybe I'll put a link out if someone wants to contribute to the forum, because Fridays I tend to make into open forums. And we talk about anything and everything when it comes to trucking. And then Saturday night we might do the open live that goes on both channels. I need to get some traffic to the other channel once I can kind of figure out what I'm going to do with it. I know I keep saying that, sound like a broken record, but hey, deal with it. So anyways, we'll do some shout outs. We'll get some time for people to come in here and do that, right? So we got Ratman Roden. Happy Friday. Will work for tacos. Check out Ratman's channel if you want to look at some flatbedding stuff. It's nice. I've been friends with Terry for a while, and it's nice to see his transformation from hot shot to big truck. And he's helped me a little bit on the flatbed step deck stuff, and understanding it, because that's going to be my world here soon. So I've already booked my first flatbed load, and we're definitely going in with some secret weapons when it comes to contacts and everything else, and broker relationships. So establishing broker relationships is important in the beginning with what we're doing, because it will gets us good right out of the gate, because that's going to become incredibly important here. If you are a preferred carrier for a particular broker, that's going to become very important in the next 3 or 4 months. So that's going to be key for survival. I'll just put that out there right now. Scott, what's up, man? SRO Logistics, how you doing? CDN, good morning. Good to see you. Jose, good morning. Shannon, watching my kitty cat video. Good morning. Texas rates are still in the dumpster. Yes. Yeah, I've been avoiding Texas. I did send one truck in there to grab a load coming out, because we delivered in Ardmore for a really good rate. So we were able to take the little bit of a hit coming out, but it was a shorty to Oklahoma, and then from Oklahoma I just deadheaded him up to Springfield. Desert Okie Pam, what's up? Actually, it was Joplin, I think. I can't remember. Bowl of Woods, what's up? I've got it written down. Something, good morning. Don, what's up? You're killing on the YouTube channel. I'm trying, Terry. I'm trying. The microphone was definitely help. I know that the YouTube algorithms like the audio. They love the good audio. If I can get a sharper picture behind me, that's not going to happen until I move this desk, and I don't know when and how that's ever going to happen. So, and the garage is too cold and scary, or too hot and scary to put up a studio in there. I don't think my signal would work as well. So, you're stuck with the fuzzy, ghostly, thing. It's in the mornings, at least, because there's traffic going on behind me, and they really don't want to be on YouTube. So, good morning, Steve. We are empty. My dry man trailer is officially no, it's taking a break. It's taking a vacation. Enjoy your home time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on at home, Greg. So, but I'm glad you're delivered. Greg is a hustler, man. He gets things done. If if a person can run like he does, then you'll be all right, no matter what the market's doing. Starbucks in hand. Well, I guess that's better than no coffee. The Richest Man in Babylon is a good book for your son. I'm gonna have to remember that. Wife, if you're watching, write that down. That's a good idea. Running Aces, morning Snorelord. What's up, Daryl Worth? Make sure you have good snow tires and chains when heading to Michigan. Well, it would be October. You never know, right? I'm gonna have to. I haven't driven in snow in a long time. It's been a minute. And I want to say the last time I did was either Michigan or on I-55 there in Missouri. So, what's up, Sage? Nomadic Brit, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Chris Hammer, what's up? Ratman, hey Brit, was it your birthday this week? It was. He's a young man. I love the cat. That cat, he's special, right? We're worried about him. So, you see one of these headlines that you think is ridiculous. And the headline would be, your cat can catch the V19, right? And you read that and you're like, whatever, that's dumb. Narrative, gaslighting, blah, 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 right? So when we all caught it, about a week later, the cat started to lose weight. It wasn't eating. It was being almost lethargic in a way. So we took it to the vet, and they did blood work and said the cat's fine. I mean, so was there anything weird that happened at home? I said, well, we all just got over this. And she's like, oh, well, cats have been known to get that. And what a lot of people don't realize is, I know we're a trucking channel talking about cat health, but bear with me here. If a cat catches a cold, it will not eat. It will not eat what it cannot smell. You know how dogs just inhale something, you throw something, it could be a piece of plastic, like, oh crap, that's not edible. You know, I mean, just inhale. You give them a steak, it's gone like that. Cats, you know, they'll nibble, they'll smell it, and then they're never ravenous, right? And so the vet thinks that that's what happened. Is the cat caught the cold, not a cold, but the cold, right? And so she said, feed it some canned fish food, or canned cat food, fishy smell, because it's got a better smell. And so we did, and lo and behold, the cat came out of it. So yeah, learn something new every day. Ratman saying happy belated birthday. TC Boggs is in the house. What's up? Where's your Nostradamus thing? What's the good news? The good news is there's always hope. That's the good news. And we'll go over some lanes that can breathe some hope. Wisconsin's been on fire. Patrick, what's up? Thank you for your membership. Thank you for all the members here. Every week is getting better. There you go. Could you flip your desk so your desk backs could be your back? Yeah, but then it literally, this is my dining room. And so there's not enough space to move it this way. There's a piano to my right. Here, I'll show you. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but yeah, there's a piano to my right, and then the kitchen's behind me. So, and we won't be in this house very much longer. So there's that. So whatever new setup I get, I'm hoping to have a man cave in the next house, and then that man cave will be my studio. KP Law News and Pale Rider in here. How is that possible? Nothing witty. What's up? Everybody's saying hi to each other. Laredo Rider. There you go. That's his CB handle. Laredo Rider. I don't know if you guys caught Pale Rider's members only video, but there was some very good news on that. His 99-cent crony video. And so when you take that number and subtract the number that he's paying for his truck, he's doing better than most of you. That is for sure. Anyways, let's get to this low board crap, shall we? Here's the deal when it comes to spot market or any market or any business. Consistency, consistency, consistency. If you consistently do the same thing, those will be your results. Whether it's eating donuts, whether it's working a good lane, whether it's working a bad lane, whether it's whatever you do, consistency will bring results, whether good or bad. Ralph, what's up? Edgewood, what's up? Sean, short game around PA is dead. Back on Pumpkin Long Haul. What is Pumpkin Long Haul? Probably like PA to Michigan, and then Michigan to Ohio, and then Ohio to North Carolina. I know that 95 corridor was good. 95 and 77 were great corridors for Schneider. I mean, you can, at the time I was there, you can make a career going up and down 77 between Charlotte and Columbus. Mouse man, whoops. I mean, mouse man. Oh, that's funny. What up, scallywags with both feet? What's up? So, anyways, let's find our 1, 2, 3 low board here, and look at the awesomeness. Now, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something here. Hold on. Load availability. What would you do if you looked at a low board Oh, I need to switch that. Hold on. Forgive me for my ignorance. There we go. Let's do this. Oh, wow. Straight truck is up. Okay. Well, that totally threw my whole deal off. I'm dumb. PA to Florida to Texas to Michigan to Maine. Wow, that's good. That's a good haul. I'm sure those rates are pretty good too. Late happy birthday, Britt. So you're endorsing donuts now? How about cinnamon? No, I don't endorse donuts. I'm just saying if you eat donuts consistently, you will have results. Not in your favor. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies would love for you to eat donuts every day because they can get you. Got to roll but listening. All right. So let's do let's bring the low board up here. And all right, so let's that's straight truck. That's a box truck if that's your jam. Let's do flatbed first since Edgewood's probably watching. There you go. There's your flatbed states. Southeast is your jam. Maybe not on rates, but on volumes. I'm sure there's a lot of loads going into Florida right now for rebuilding. Have you guys seen the footage for Hurricane Ian? Pretty amazing. There was one where they showed this whole neighborhood and only one house looked untouched. It was kind of interesting. And you're like, yeah, that person spent some extra coin to make sure that house was extra durable. But um, so a lot of materials and then a lot of commercial um, building is still going on. That was from a good source. So flatbed should be good for a minute. Now, what's bringing rates down is a lot of people entering the market, and so I anticipate the DOT being a little bit more aggressive on checking out flatbed trucks because there's a lot of people that are getting into the game that don't have any training. You know, I know a person that's entering the field and he's getting some training. That's important. And we have a friend that almost got hit by debris that came off a flatbed because it wasn't tied down correctly. And Big Rig CO, he told me this. He goes, and Ratman, you'll probably agree, there's no such thing as too much um securement. No such thing as extra or too much load securement. So that's and that's why I never entered the flatbed field myself because I'm that guy that puts one rope on the mattress and hopes for the best, or puts the wife back in the back of the pickup to hold the mattress down. So I've been that guy. Ask my wife; she'll tell you about it. Where's the green? Where's the green? Well, let's look at Dryvan, Mr. CPAP. CPAP is also in the spot market, working over there at the you know the guys and gals over there at Advanced. So let's go over some strategies, right? And Ratman agrees with me. That's awesome. I really look up to that guy. All right, so weekend is upon you, and hopefully you booked your Friday load Wednesday. And so a good strategy, like for example, Oklahoma can tend to be a dead area, right? Rates coming out of Oklahoma aren't great for van. Oh, hold on a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, anyways, a good strategy would be like if you do from for a weekend, like from Wisconsin to Oklahoma. But then before you go in Oklahoma, check the market and see if you can book something before you get there. In other words, say, hey, broker with this Wisconsin load, can you hold on to this for a second? I'm going to check to see if there's something coming out of Oklahoma City on Monday. You know, that kind of thing. Or you can see what the market looks like and make a determination. If you're doing Ardmore, more than likely you're going to pull something out of Dallas or Oklahoma City. If you go to Oklahoma City, it's kind of a no man's land. It's a little bit far to Dallas to pick up anything out of there for their rate, and it's a little bit far to Joplin to pick up anything for a decent all in rate. So I always tend to do either Tulsa or Ardmore. The only time I go into Oklahoma City is if I know I got something coming out. Now, for a minute, I was pulling water out of Oklahoma City. That went back up to Missouri. It was a great run, and so I made it a point to get to Ohio, and then get the it's tough getting down to Oklahoma to the broker, and then negotiate a higher rate to Oklahoma for a weekend load, and then I can even go home under that load, and then I would grab something Oklahoma City back up to Missouri or Arkansas. So once you develop and know your lanes, you develop a strategy, and sometimes you got to change that strategy up. And so one of the challenges for the people that are switching platforms, like going to flatbed or going from van to reefer, is now those things are different. What works in the flatbed world may not work in the van world, vice versa. Reefer is really is also does that. So reefer will, you know like one area might be bad for van, but it's actually not bad for reefer coming out. So it just depends. And your industry, know where things are built, know where things are made, know where all the farms are. If you're reefer, know where all the farms at. Know when the produce seasons happen. Know when the meat season happens. And yes, there is a meat season because processed meats are going to start going up. Frozen, pre-cooked holiday meal stuff is shipping right now. So there's been an uptick in some volumes when it comes to that stuff. Pumpkins are shipping right now. And then pretty soon, here in about a month, it's going to be Christmas trees. So I mean, there's apples are shipping right now. Um, there's a lot of things. Just know your craft is basically what I'm saying. And that's if you're in the spot market. If you're contract and you've got a contract of a load that goes from Wisconsin to say Houston, and then you got to find your backhaul, maybe you do it two step. Maybe you get a better rate from Houston to Arkansas, and then from Arkansas you go up to Wisconsin back. If you got the time. A lot of loads. A lot of shippers may, I need you back on Wednesday. So if you don't find a backhaul right then and there, you gotta deadhead back, which, that's where a lot of carriers get into problems when they get contract freight, because in order to keep the contract, keep the customer serviced, they got to go back regardless. And there's no shipper that's going to give you, there's very few shippers. Let me try not to make a blanket statement. There are very few shippers that are going to give you round trip money unless they really want you to move this stuff, or it's an exclusive thing that they don't want anything else in that trailer. So if you find yourself, and look, the time to get contracts was 6 months ago. And if you find yourself bidding on a contract, look at the lane that it's going into, so have a strategy to come out. So if you have to use the spot for your backhaul, how much of a hit are you going to take there? Let's say your backhaul has to come out of Denver, or let's say there's a really good rate for a contract freight that goes from Illinois to New Mexico. Well, what are you going to grab out of New Mexico? Not much. You're probably going to deadhead to El Paso and then go back. So, and then that won't be a great rate, as Ratman's pointed out. Texas rates are in the dumpster. So these are the things you have to, and that's what Ratman deals with. He hauls his own product, and a lot of times he'll call me, "Hey, you think you can find me a load out of such and such?" I'm like, "No, I'll try." And there's just not much, but those loads pay enough that it's not a big deal for him. So, Clyde, what's up? CPAP says Midwest always has the money. Yeah, I mean, but it also has the best volumes. Volumes is what I look at. That the flatbed should be able to get flipped upside down and nothing falls off. Yeah, and there's definitely some pictures out there of well secured trucks that have rolled over and the load stayed on the trailer. I'm booked through next Wednesday. Excellent, Shannon. That is how it's done. That is how it's done. I'm home till Tuesday, so no loads for me. Good deal. Just called on a posted load Dallas to Des Moines. Broker said it actually picks up in Houston. Yeah, like for example, I was looking for a specific load. It needed to do a specific thing. And so what it was, and I'll go over the strategy with you. So I have a driver that's going to be empty in Charlotte. He lives in Greensboro. And we're trying to maximize our days out. So I was looking for a load, but he needed to be home by Friday afternoon. But he was very willing to take something and go home under the load. So usually you can finagle a little bit better rate. It's like, look, I'm going to sit on this for a day. Can you up it? X amount, whatever. And so, especially on the short stuff. And so, what I was trying to find is something that picked up 100-mile radius of Charlotte that delivered on the other side of Greensboro, like say Roanoke or Martinsville, or even something that would go through Greensboro, or maybe 10, 20 miles out of route. So I would look at the load that was a potential load, and then I would ask Google, hey, how far is it from such and such to such and such, to see if the mapping went through Charlotte. It's a quick, easy way to do that. I mean, go through Greensboro. And whenever a broker, and so I would call on a load and it actually isn't. So I got to do all this all over again while I have that broker on the phone. And so it wastes my time, it wastes his time, and then I find out, well, it doesn't make sense now. You just literally wasted 5 minutes of my time. And, Dallas, I can see, say, in Arlington or McKinney or, any of those Dallas suburbs. But to say Houston, that's a little bit far. I once called on a load. I was sitting there. I just delivered to Menards there in Sullivan, Missouri. I looked at the load board and it wasn't TQL. It was another broker. I'll be quiet on it, but it was one that I didn't know did the whole different city thing. So I called on. Hey, there's a load right on this Sullivan, Missouri to, I forget where it was. Oh no, it was Indianapolis. Sweet. That sounds perfect. I bet you if it's coming out of Sullivan, it's coming out of right here. There's a couple of warehouses there, but yeah. So I called on, hey, I'm looking at your load picking up in Sullivan, Missouri tomorrow or today going to Indianapolis. Yeah, man, hold on. And then I hear him like take his hand. Hey, is that St. Louis to Chicago still? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's still available. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it picks up in St. Louis at 3 p.m. and delivers in Chicago tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And it took a minute for my brain to process what he just told me. I go, well, I called on a load going from Sullivan to Indianapolis. So I'm sitting there and he's like, yeah, you think you can make that happen? That's what this is. I'm like, so now I look like or sound like the dumbass to him because I'm like, well, it completely threw all the evaluation that I just did, and I hate that. And that's why you got to be prepared when you call on a load, but you also got to be able to be on the fly, and that's why it's hard to book going down the road. Why? Because what if someone does that? And that's kind of what they're hoping, right? Because when I did the math, it was a 268-mile difference between the deadhead and the destination difference. In other words, St. Louis to Chicago, the deadhead from Sullivan to St. Louis, and then the difference between Chicago and Indianapolis accounted for 268 miles that they've added to this load for me. And I'm like, that so that Dallas to Houston kind of reminds me of that. And I'm like, no, I called on, and finally I kind of got frank with them. I was like, look, man, I called on a load that was going from Sullivan, which is right where I'm at, to Indianapolis because I don't want to go to Chicago. If I wanted to go to Chicago, I would have put Chicago in my search. I would have called on the load that said Chicago. And it's like, well, sorry, all right, well, have a good day. Click. And I have never ever called that broker again. I was so pissed off. I've never dealt with them. I deleted their app, the whole 9 yards. Because I can understand like a 50-mile radius, but a 200-mile difference? No, I don't think so. Indianapolis is not near Chicago. Now, if they say Gary, Indiana, and it actually goes to Chicago, I can understand that. So that strategy still. I had one broker tell me why they do that strategy, and I was like, well, I can see if you're in a tiny town in the middle of nowhere, that's where the shipper is, and you need to grab the market that's like say in Oklahoma City, and you got that tiny town that's about 50 miles away. I could see that, but two entirely different major cities, like Dallas and Houston, that's stupid. And that's a waste of my time, and it's a waste of your time as a broker. That's a waste of your time as a broker because now, if you're on the phone with stumbling idiots because you've thrown the cities off every 5 minutes, how do you book that load? And if you're driving down the road and you're calling on that load, I mean, now you gotta mess with the calculator or mess with your phone, which is illegal. Or maybe I emailed you for that load and then I get the email back 5 minutes later and it's that. It's like it's a complete waste of time. And I don't know if a broker wants to come on and tell me why you do it to that extreme. I would love to know, because it's a bunch of crap. It's one of the most frustrating things about the spot market is when I call on a load, I've made a decision that this destination and this origin works for me. I've budgeted X amount of miles for deadhead. Don't sit there and add 100 more to a load that, and what it does, and I know one of the strategies of that is that it throws off that 15, 30-day average. So if you call on a load that's like 300 miles and the 30-day says it's X amount, and then you call and it's actually 450 miles loaded, but they still got that amount posted for the 30-day average on 300 miles. I know that strategy. So that's something you have to look out. How many of you in the chat have didn't think about that? Because if you're only quoting from the 30-day average, they want you to quote a lower number. And how do you lower that 30-day average on the fly? Well, by posting the wrong cities in a general area. Give out 100 miles. I know that's a strategy, and if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Monday is Columbus Day, so make sure shipper receiver open. Not a major holiday, but still make sure no school for my daughter. I guess you're right. No banks. So if you have to go to the bank, do it today. What's up, SST? Waited over 5 hours to the shipper last night. Screwed up my next load. Yeah, that kind of messed us up this week with one driver. Hey Shannon, Crystal was on Sterling's live last night. If you didn't see it, yeah, I missed Sterling's live. It was late. He went live right when I was going to bed. Truth is out of style. Yeah, be a rebel. Be truthful. Right? TC says bait and switch. Absolutely. No, it wasn't. It wasn't JB Hunt. It was an app that I'd never used. It wasn't. The name of the broker starts with T, and the end of the brokerage ends with X. So you can probably figure it out from there. I literally deleted their app, and I never even used the app. I always call on their load, or I just called on their load, and then I put their email that I was getting every morning in the spam folder. That's how pissed off I was. TQL, it's part of the game, right? It's part of the game that they play, and I get it. Sometimes they get a little extreme, like Ratman pointed out. Dallas and Houston are worlds apart. Big Houston, what's up? Figure lie when the liars figure. Figures lie when the liars figure. That's funny. Those brokers need to be put on the B last. Somebody else uses them. Neither. Either. I have no idea what that means. Oh, on blast. They need to be put on blast. Somebody else. Look, when you play the game, and TC, here's the thing. It's bad business for me to bash any business here on YouTube. Now, if I had my own authority, I might do that. But those who know probably know who I'm talking about. Those who don't know, they don't need to know. So that's why I do it like that. And it's one of those things that the minute you call and you hear, then most people won't use them again. I don't know how they're in business, but I mean, too big to fail kind of BS. But I know, yeah, TQL is notorious for that. But look, I've done really good with TQL, especially with new authorities, and so I won't bash them. Is it annoying? Yeah. Is their system inefficient? Yeah, they know it, but they don't do anything about it. So bitching on YouTube isn't going to help anything. Big Tex, what's up? Hey, hydrate. PSA from Big Tex. How's it going, man? I haven't heard from you in a while. I can say as a broker that posting wrong city is not my practice. Load link DAT sister load board does not have every town. This week I had to post a nearby city, but I put in. There you go. Put it in the comments. That is excellent. That is an excellent. See, there you go. CDN. He knows his craft, right? And so the smarter brokers that practice that or have no choice, like what CDN pointed out, will put it in the comments. Actually picks up. So now I can do the math and look at the map before I call, before I waste this person's time. This practice of wrong city posting is perplexing, annoying, and unnecessary. It's amazing to me how inefficient people work. And I'm telling you, with every fiber of my being that the more inefficient you are, the harder it is when the market drops like it has. If you're efficient when it's good, then you'll make even more money. When you're efficient when it's bad, you will be better off than most. It's as simple as that. That's going to be my new tagline. It's as simple as that because look, we overcomplicate things. People that aren't in the spot market probably watch all of our spot market videos and like, holy crap, this is very confusing and intimidating. But it's really not. It is and it isn't. I know that was a dumb, redundant statement, but bear with me here. If you just concentrate on what's ahead and learn from your mistakes, you'll make it. I'm going to use Shannon for example. She told me that her first week she had X amount, booking herself for the first week. It was a low number, but then her second week she had almost doubled that number. I think she did double that number, if not more so, because she learned from her mistakes. And so people that switch companies all the time or switch, they're the people that switch companies all the time. How do you create consistency? How do you learn from your mistakes? How do you learn what to do and what not to do? I mean, tell me. I have no idea. Of course you don't, CDN. You're the pillar of integrity in the broker community. Which more were like you? Absolutely. And look, because he knows his craft, he's been doing it for what, 15 years? You know? I mean, yeah. So, anyways, this is Van. There's your green states. Let's do reefer here real quick. Boink, boink, boink. All right. There's reefer. Oklahoma's been tough for reefer for here lately. So about the best you want to do is Tulsa, so you can hit Joplin or Carthage to come out. There's also some food places in this area of Kansas, right around here. And California's green. So, but just because it's green doesn't mean you're going to get a good rate. It just means that your odds of getting a better rate are better. That's how you have to look at that. Maybe, Brian. Maybe. Now, this is the beauty of truck shows. I went to that particular brokerage, okay, and I'm going to give them credit. I went to that particular brokerage and said at the truck show and said, "Hey, I've got a problem with you guys." And he goes, "Why?" And I told him about that. And he goes like, "Oh man, we don't get that extreme." I mean, he gave me he gave me a card. I have it around here somewhere. He gave me a card. He gave me his personal direct line at the office in his email. He said, "If you come across this again, let me know, and I will make sure that's done away with." And so the truck shows allow you to go to a particular brokerage. I went to 4 different brokerages at Matt's this past year and gave them my thoughts, both good and bad. And they seemed to listen. You know, TKO was the only one that I wanted to talk to that I didn't get a chance to. I wanted to tell him, "Hey, you should do carrier reps. That way I'm not talking to 20 different people for 2 loads." How inefficient is that? But I mean, they have their system, and they're one of the top brokerages in the world. So what are you going to do, right? But I did voice my opinion, but I still haven't booked a low with them. I don't believe. So I mean, I could be wrong. I've booked 6 years in this game. I've booked a lot of loads, especially here late. I've booked more loads in the last 6 months of being a dispatch service than I have for myself for last year. I mean, because I pretty much do a lot of the same stuff when I'm running my own truck, and that's going to happen. I keep saying I'm going to get back in the truck because I want to run a few loads, get some of that old def out of the truck, and make sure it's up to snuff. Nomadic Brit Shannon agree. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on. Only way to learn, make the mistakes. And that's the problem though, is that there are people that are out here that can't afford to make mistakes. There's zero margin. There's zero room for error. And that's a position that you try not to be in. I mean, sometimes you can't help it, but that's what happens. Shannon also learned the costly mistake of believing the shop when they said the truck should be done in 2 days. It's been a week's worth of hotel. And she admits it. She's like, yeah, I should have went home. Now, if you're 1,000 miles from the house, I could see hanging out for a week when they tell you that the truck is going to be done in 3 days. But if you're, within a couple hundred miles, then, go home. Let's do some rate checks, shall we? Give me a lane if you guys want to do a rate check. And there's the link if anybody wants to join. Ask any questions. Have any comments? Tell me I'm lame. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Or say, hey Steve, this is an awesome echo chamber. Thank you very much. Either way, they should have broker dunk tanks at truck shows, carnival style. It's actually not a bad idea. What say you, CDN? Come to mats and go swimming? All right, so here's Dallas to Effingham. You're looking at a rate of average of 222, buck 37, 337 was the high. That's for van. For reefer, 441 was the high, 233, 139. Now, okay, so something I want to point out here. Okay, look at the high and the low. So somewhere in the world, there's a driver that did this lane for 441 a mile in a reefer. And then somewhere in the world is a guy that did it for a buck 39. Think about that for a minute. Just kind of absorb that. Now, you might sit there, well, the guy did it for a buck 39. He's an idiot. Yeah. Maybe that was a parcel. And maybe he put, 5 other pallets on there that were parcels, or 5 other loads that were on there were parcels, and he, or he made where he made a lot of money per mile. Maybe this was my daughter sick in the hospital. I needed to get home, pay for fuel. Or maybe they don't have the tools to see that they're extremely low for the market that they were in. Or maybe they talked to a broker that had some excellent negotiating skills that made this guy think that this was a good deal. There's a huge number of things that could have went down to create that low. Same thing with the high. Maybe this high was, someone fell off the load and they had to, grab a team to do it overnight. Or maybe it was a truck that's on the spot market, but it's a friend of a friend kind of a deal. You never know. Or maybe there was something. Maybe that rate per mile was good because it might have taken a week's worth of revenue to do Dallas to Effingham, because it might have had 20 stops. So you never know. So don't let these numbers here create an emotional response, because you don't know the conditions that these loads were taken. What's up, Sage?
Hey, how's it going? I won't be in here long. That way, I don't upset some of your subscribers and they take off on you. But I did talk about this with DIY on one of my shows. I don't know if you saw it, but a lot of times you guys also have to look at, because I hear this all the time, that freight. Oh, we'll just leave it on the dock. It's 80 cents a mile. It just, you can just hold it, and they're never, don't take it. It won't move. The issue is there's a lot of other carriers out there, the bigger carriers and stuff, that have multiple streams of revenue. They have brokerages. They sell their trucks. They lease their trucks. They're on the stock market. So there's a bunch of other streams of revenue that if they have to reposition one of their trucks to go to another location, that they'll move it for that 80 cents a mile, because they have multiple other streams of income and they've got to get that truck back to a direct customer or something. So a lot of times freight, it's not that freight's going to sit, that somebody might have took it for $1.39. They might have took it for $1 a mile. But understand that they're not a one truck operation, and trucking isn't their only income. They might have a brokerage. They might be selling their old trucks. They might be leasing trucks to drivers, and there's a lot of other means that these other companies might have access to, that it's still in their best interest to grab that freight for 80 cents a mile, make something, at least pay for the fuel, and it's offset by their other streams of income through their company. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And that's why a lot of guys don't think about that, is when you're that solo guy and you see that load, it's not that won't move. It's just somebody else can grab that and take it, and they'd rather at least cost the price of fuel, let's say, to get the driver back to a direct customer that they have, that they want to make sure that they continue to service that direct customer. So that was another means that people, a lot of drivers don't understand. It's like, well, how can anybody move it for that? Well, because they have multiple streams of income in their trucking company, in their business.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier about, sometimes you're forced to use the spot as a backhaul for a contract, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right?
Right. And that's where, like I said, and a lot of these, you can't, obviously, let's say Schneider or Prime, who also has, like I said, a brokerage, they sell their used trucks to off of the dealer. They lease trucks to drivers. They're on the stock market. And they've got, they're handling rail or other, let's say, rail and all this other stuff. There's a lot of means in which they're making money. So that 80 cents a mile it's chump change to basically, to move it, to get back to it, to make that guaranteed load, or to move that trailer or move that driver to a location that he needs to be. And that's why a lot of drivers be like, well, I got, somebody, they're going to haul it for this cheap. Well, they might, that carrier might be saying, we've got to get them back to this location because our direct customer will give us loads they're out paying great money. So they go ahead and they just rifle it all out there. Multiple streams of income, like double dipping on contractors' fuel surcharge and the rebate. Yeah, no, that's not multiple streams of income. That's a little different there, DC. Multiple streams of income just would be, additional streams of incoming money from other aspects of logistics.
Chris, there's your Milwaukee to Florida for reefer. There's your averages there. 320 is the average, 404 is the high, 224 is the low. And Thomas Wilson, I know this is boring. I did a guitar video. You were not in there on Saturday. And I did a drum video the Friday before that. You were not in there. So I try to do exciting stuff just for you, but you're never there.
Yeah.
Um,
But
so what's your take on what I was talking about earlier with the different cities posted? What's your take on that?
So I post a different city that is a 7-mile difference, just because it's an outskirt of a different city, and it's like 7 miles from the other one. So that's about as far as I go. A lot of times that what they're doing too is they're trying to triangulate. So it might be 3 different areas and it's all the same load, but they're trying to snag all the trucks in that that area to do that. And there's a lot of times too that if they do post that, it should be in the comments, or it should be, if it is a smaller town. But a lot of times also is they'll do that just to basically, because it's picking up this city and it's going to a big city. They're lying, right? And that's a situation you're just going to say, okay, well then not a problem. As long as you pay me the deadhead to get to where it actually was going to go, or where actually it was going to pick up, then you need to factor that. You just need to tell them, well, okay, it was supposed to go from here to here. The mile difference is and just make them do the work. What's the mile difference from this to this? Like where you said it was. Make them do the work. Keep them on the phone and say, okay, here the mile difference is 100 miles. All right, I'm just going to use simple numbers. It's going to be an extra $100 or whatever, or $150 for me to go get the load, because I'm from where you're posting it to where it actually is a 100-mile difference. So I'll have to tack that on, and then I'll have to tack the delivery on, and that's an extra 100 miles. So right off the bat, you're 200 miles higher just for that purpose. And then just ask them, what's the mile difference from where you posted it to where it's actually picking up? And make them, if they're going to post it, just say, you're going to have to pay for me to go, because that wasn't factored into when I ran my numbers. And it's not putting me where I want to go if it's the delivery end. You know what I'm saying? If they do the delivery end, it's putting me 100 miles from where I need to go. So factor that into your pricing.
There were times I've called TQL and they actually had those numbers already. They were like, where are you at? And I would tell them, they're like, okay, this is actually picking up here. Here's the extra miles. Like they're those guys are on the fly. They've got their act together more. But Ratman's got a comment if you want to read it. Can you read that?
Yeah. So okay, read me this. My company is paying the same per mile to brokers this week as I was in March, but brokers are keeping a larger just because the market is low. Is that just business as usual? Okay, so his company that he owns is paying the same to the broker. How does he know they're paying less to the carrier?
Because he is the shipper.
Yeah, but
Ratman owns a company that ships out product.
So he asks the driver what they're getting paid when they get there?
He's also a driver, so he knows those numbers. He's in a unique position where he can see both sides.
Okay, so he runs the freight from the broker back down to himself. Like, my question is how does he know what the driver's getting paid? I know he knows what the broker's getting paid because he's paying the broker, but how does he know what the broker's paying the driver? Because I don't think he's hauling from his company to the broker back to himself. He's just going to haul it. No. So my question is how do you know what the driver's getting paid? Are you asking the drivers? And if that's the case and you don't want that to happen, fire the broker. I mean, there's an option there. Tell the broker you're fired. Find a new broker. I watched the load boards. Okay, so how do you know what the actual driver's getting paid? Because remember, let's say I have a load for $2,000, right? And if I'm going to give it to Sandman, I might give him $1,800. But if I'm going to post it, I'm going to post it for $1,500. And then that driver is going to walk me up to possibly to $1,800. Because when I post it on the load board, I don't know who you are. I have no idea who you are, and you have to be able to earn. I'll come back later. You have to be able to earn doing a better job. So if you do a good job for me, the next time I might give you more money. But that's why I try to explain to drivers. What you see on the load board is not the best rate. you're not getting the best rate on the load board. You're getting the best rate when I've worked with you a couple times, when you've earned, I know you know what you're doing. Because there's been times early on that I've gone ahead and given the best rate to a guy off the load board, and he was crap. He lost me my customer.
Well, hey, so let me play advocate for Ratman's side. So I think what he's saying in generalities, he's looking at what his company is paying brokers to move a load.
Yeah.
And seeing the rates come down because, especially out of Dallas, rates have come down really, really big for flatbed and step deck.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he's speaking more in generalities that his price hasn't changed since March, but he's, and look, I and a couple other of my friends have dealt with this, when, like, for example, Big Rig CEO, he does a lot of the same stuff like I do. And then each week, yeah, we're paying X amount now. Even though they have a relationship with this broker, even though they've got an exceptional service record with this broker, with this exact load, they're like, well, now this week it's paying $200 less. Now this week it's paying $200. And it just keeps going down until you just don't haul it anymore.
Well,
And
yeah.
so, and so the market conditions, do they actually change that fast? I mean, do contracts really change that fast?
Well, even if they're not, they can. And this, it sounds like it. I don't know if he's under contract. It doesn't sound like he's under contract. It sounds like he's spot loading. But at that point, you as a shipper can go to the broker and say, "I'm not paying this much, and I'm only gonna, because shippers can bash brokers' prices down. Like this is where I think there's a little bit of confusion. I get this all the time when legal freight. It was like, no, a shipper will bash a broker down in price. It's your job not to just take that you have to negotiate the price with the broker also, right? So it's not just at that point you might be like, hey, shippers are literally bashing prices down right now. They're trying to save, and if the broker is not in your price range, you might have to find another broker. That's business. No, there is no set pricing and guaranteed money. If you don't, I have had customers basically say, we don't have that in it. We have to find someone else. Okay, right? And so at some point, what I'm trying to say is that unless you're talking to the driver picking up the load, I can post a load on the load board for 1,000. By the time the driver takes the load, it could be 1,800, right? So just because you're seeing that low number, that's why I'm saying the number that's posted on the load board might not be the load that the driver's taking it for. But if you don't think brokers are trying to make the most money, everybody is. You guys are, brokers are, shippers are when they manufacture things. But the load that it's taken for, you can't tell me that is the same as the one on the load board. So if you're the shipper and you give it to a broker, and then you look on the load board what the broker's trying to move it for, like I said, he could be posting that for $1,500 when he's got $2,000 in it. He could be posting it for $1,200 when he's got $2,000 in it. And then when somebody calls, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, that driver is going to walk them up in price anyways. So the posted load is rarely ever the load you take it for, right? I mean, how many times do you negotiate a load, Snorelord? How many times is the posted load the load that you actually take the load for?
It depends on what lane I'm in. I mean,
there's a lot that you walk them up 50, 60, 100, $100, $200, stuff like that, correct?
Yeah, I walked up a load by $1,000 over the 30 days simply because I had a second stop on it.
Right. So that's why you actually have to, if you want to know what it's actually being taken for, you're going to have to ask the driver what he took the load for at that point.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see
absolutely
what the drivers are taking that for.
But again, understand that if that driver can do it for that price and the price works for the driver and he took the load, well, then he took the load. So even if I post something for $1,000 and I have $2,000 in it, and the driver calls me up and says, hey, I can do it for 14. Well, that was his number. It's not my job to say, no, you need to do it for 18. It's his job to say, I can do it for 15.
But, well, the caveat to that is that driver might be able to do it for 14 or underbid you. but then the reality that he shouldn't and really can't, because eventually that guy goes out of business because he's booking too low. I see it on JB Hunt all the time. There are loads that I would bid on. I was going to bid on because it works on all the parameters. And then I see someone that is like grossly underbid that load, and I'm like,
yeah, but the problem is,
luck. And I know I'm not going to get it because JB Hunt goes for the lowest price.
But the problem is that here's the situation. You can't tell me he shouldn't have taken that load.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are people out there that will sit next to you and say, "Oh, I can take it for lower," and then realize because they've never put pen to paper that they can't.
Well, that's their fault.
But eventually, what that does is that affects the rates. And I mean, look, I know rates are about supply and demand, but when you constantly get underbid by somebody who's desperate, who just needs the truck to move, it can be kind of frustrating to drivers, and I think that's where that mindset comes from.
Let me run this by you. Let's say I have a carrier and a brokerage, right? I have a carrier and a brokerage. You're sitting next to my driver. I have two streams of revenue. I can move the truck for $1.10 a mile. Let's just use simple numbers, right? The truck turns a profit at $1.11 a mile. Okay?
Yep.
$1.11 a mile. If I move it for $1.45 a mile, am I turning a profit?
If your line is $1.10 and you're moving for $1.40, yeah.
Okay, so I've turned a profit. So the problem is that what I can't. Don't base what your profit is. You're basing what the profit should be based on what you think it should be. But $1.45 is okay.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are people moving loads for under their costs.
That they should go out of business. And they will.
Yeah, and they will. And so, but there's what we call the purge cycle when it comes to the spot market.
Right.
And that purge cycle is the most frustrating cycle that we have to deal with, because people that have the $200,000 trucks that can't afford to stop at all are moving these loads for half the price that you were doing them, a month ago. And so it's people are making moves based off of desperation and fear, and so surviving that part of the storm can be a challenge. And so I'm not telling what people's profit should be. Profitability, I agree with you that the more profitability and the more streams of income, but not everybody is set up like that. And so what I've found in the many years I've been doing this is that when people do things out of desperation, it affects everybody.
Absolutely. But the issue is that here's the problem when we get into all this debate, right? Everybody says this is the problem. It's like the people that take it for less than the profit for their truck, they need to go out of business, right? They're not hurting you, because eventually the broker's going to try to move for that same price again, and nobody's going to be there, right? So the issue is that there are times I can move a load for 80 cents a mile on my truck, because the brokerage and the direct customer freight coming out would easily benefit that 80 cents a mile to get it back. So, yeah, see, there's a flat rate brokerage right there. So no matter what you give me, what price you give me, that he might say I take 12% on top of the price. I mean, this is where people are constantly thinking that the brokers are basically, it's not my job, it's your job. And the problem is that if I was a salespeople make a lot of money. Okay, salespeople make a lot of money. If you replace salesperson in brokerage, that salesperson makes a ton of money because they bring you money in. So the issue is that salespeople make money, and because it's a hard job, it's not something easy. It takes time. And like I've said before, you could go back and say, hey, well, I made $800 on this load, but I've been working on this customer for 8 months. Well, is that a lot of money to make on that one load for a customer you've been working on for 8 months and never moved anything else? No, it's $100 a month. It doesn't sound like that much after that. Oh, your camera die?